Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. We've got a weekend edition here for you. I was out of town in Las Vegas checking out some preseason games, so we fell a little bit behind. So thought we'd get caught up with a weekend show because there is plenty to talk about around the NBA. Before we get into it, quick reminder: do go check out our Clips channel. I'll put the link in the description below for some short form content from us. Again, I'm Trevor Lane. Joining me is Keith Smith. Keith, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Weekend update is always fun to do and get a chance to catch up on the stuff from the last couple of days.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing from the last couple of days, Draymond Green. I mean, first we heard, I believe it was last Wednesday from Shams Charania that there was an altercation at Warriors practice between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. And then Friday morning, I was getting to the airport, when suddenly my phone starts going crazy and everybody is reacting to the video of the incident getting out. And I think this makes things a whole lot worse for Draymond. It makes things worse for the Warriors. And now Draymond today spoke to the media and said he apologized to Jordan Poole, apologized to Poole's family, apologized to his teammates, apologized to his own family. Said he had some things going on in his personal life that caused him to have a little bit more of a short fuse, but is going to be taking time away from the team now. So, Keith, where do you stand on all of this, and where do the Warriors go from here?
Yeah, fights happen within teams. It happens, especially teams that have been together for a while. They had a very long season, right? Other than the Celtics, they played as deep into the year as anybody did. They then were, short off season as far as being a normal short off season, unlike what we dealt with for a few years there. But just then you're kind of right back at it in the gym, and stuff happens. But when the video came out, I don't know what was said. Nobody does except for those who were in the gym, and who knows if they're going to talk. I'm kind of guessing probably not, after how the Warriors are so upset that the video leaked out,
Yeah.
period. But something was said that upset Draymond Green. Draymond Green got in Jordan Poole's face. In the video, this is just my personal opinion here, that looked like a normal, get out of my face, man, push.
Yep.
Not like I'm ready to fight. I know all the internet tough guys are like, you put hands on a man, you better be ready to throw down. This isn't a street fight. This is a freaking basketball practice. So just, go away with that. But then, I mean, Draymond laid him out. I don't know if he knocked him out, but it looked like he did. I mean, Jordan Poole's legs turned into spaghetti and he went right down. So, I mean, who knows? I'm sure eventually those details will come out on exactly what happened. And I don't think Jordan Poole talked today. So we don't know if he's, injured as a black eye or anything like that. But, now the next thing I'll say is I think the Warriors tried to downplay this a little bit with their initial reporting, some of the reporting that was leaked out from Draymond initially, and those kind of things. And it's one of those things where, all right, the video came out. Now we've all seen it, and it's like, all right, this is pretty bad. So we'll see where it goes from here. We don't know if there's any kind of formal suspension or discipline coming. I will say it is in the NBA operations manual. The NBA could suspend him. The NBA has full rights. Any kind of fighting or violence at any NBA sponsored event, which includes games and practices, the NBA could step in. In general, they let teams handle these kind of things themselves. The Warriors have not, other than saying it'll be handled internally, have not said anything. Maybe they're just going to let Draymond go away. And I think it was interesting that Draymond said, I'm going to take a few days, but that he hopes to be back and play in the ring night ceremony, which is 10 days away. So that's a little bit more than a few days away from the team.
Yeah. I mean, like him stepping away, I almost feel like that's kind of him, it's like a preventative suspension. It's like he's getting ahead of it and saying, like, you guys don't have to suspend me. I'm going to go away on my own.
Yep.
And then I'm going to come back. And then that gives him the ability to come back when he sees fit. But it depends on how the NBA ultimately approaches this. Yep. I'll say this, you mentioned that he may have knocked out Jordan Poole. We're seeing this, this just happened with the NFL, the NFLPA. They've changed their concussion protocols. Exactly what that's going to look like, I'm not totally clear on. But in the wake of everything that happened with Tua Tagovailoa, this is becoming a bigger and bigger thing, right? Head injuries in sports in general. You've got kids that are now wearing in soccer, wearing the helmets, the headgear in
Yep.
order to help protect them, right? We are getting a deeper understanding of how serious head injuries are. And Draymond Green threw a haymaker at Jordan Poole and could have done, and I'm hoping he did not, but could have done real damage. And you could say, well, this kind of stuff happens all the time. And yes, that's true. It does. And it should be expected, right? These guys are around each other all the time. They're around each other constantly in a high stress, high pressure environment. Things are going to happen, but I don't think we can overlook that he swung with ill intent at his head, made contact. This
Yeah.
could have been very, very, very bad. And hopefully there's no serious injuries here with Jordan Poole. I think we probably would have heard by now if there was something serious to come out of this. But I think that has to be considered when we're looking at this situation. We have to remember what we know now about head injuries and the whole schoolyard thing of just let them fight it out. That doesn't fly anymore.
Yeah, no, again, it's funny because I kind of come right down in the middle of the people who are like, you put your hands on another man, you better
Mhm.
be ready to fight. That's a little silly. This is inside the middle of a basketball practice. I also, the people who are like, hey, if anybody did that to me at my work, they'd get fired. Well, you don't. You're not a basketball player. You don't work in the
Not a
NBA. Like
normal job.
it's yeah, none of these. This is not. It's neither a street fight nor an office, right? Like this is like this happened in the middle of a basketball court, and it should be dealt with however it's going to be dealt with. I would like to believe I'm trying as I get a little bit older to believe people when they say things. I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Now, I'm not giving Draymond Green the benefit of the doubt as far as there's no excuse for what he did. You
Correct.
don't haul off and belt a guy like that from just what seemed like a get out of my face
Mhm.
push. But in his press conference today, I do think he was sincere. I know there's a lot of he's
Yeah.
only upset because the video got out. I mean, maybe I don't know that, but I do think I've done things in my life where after it was pointed out to me later, where I've been like, all right, that was worse than what I thought it was.
Yep.
Initially, I said or did things where it was like, I didn't think it was a big deal, but then when somebody pointed it out, I'm like, all right, that's fair. Like it wasn't cool what I did. So I think I want to believe that that's what happened here. We'll see again how this is handled. I don't know. I don't know that anybody needs to be traded or waived or
Yeah.
anything like that. I do think it's good that Bob Myers directly said there's no impact as far as their extension talks go with Jordan Poole,
Mhm.
anything like that. And I mean, and Jordan Poole shouldn't be, and I know we're going to get filled with comments of it's as much Jordan Poole's fault as it is Draymond's. And I can't get there. I don't believe that.
Yeah. I mean, if it came out that Jordan Poole said something horrific,
Yeah,
then
then
that
I reserve the right to change my mind.
right, yeah, that
Exactly.
would change the situation. But as it is, it's hard to defend Draymond here. Well, at the same time, understanding like maybe he talked about some problems in his personal life. Yeah, sometimes people just have a really really bad
Yep.
day and things can go south, and
Yep.
and maybe that's what happened here. But still, obviously, there's going to be a penalty for this. I don't know exactly what it'll mean for Draymond's own extension talks.
Mhm.
He's wanted a max extension. He's wants
Yeah,
four
that's not
years, and
happening. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see what ultimately happens here with the Warriors, and a lot of this will come down to the team. Can they? I don't know if forgive is the right word I want to use, but can they trust Draymond
Yeah.
again to be that teammate for them? So that's something the Warriors will have to figure out internally before they figure, do we need to make a trade or anything? I think that's all unlikely, but
Mhm.
we'll see where this goes and what kind of an impact this can make maybe long term in his future with the club. Like if they've already got some doubts about whether or not they want to pay him that a 4-year deal to a guy who's 33 in March,
Yep.
this doesn't help. I'm not saying it means
No.
they're going to cut off negotiate. It just doesn't help.
Well, and you have two other things that factor in here. One is, like you said, his age and those kind of things. I think the other thing is this is now any one transgression by someone you can move past. There is now, this is probably the worst of all the things he's done, but now we're stockpiling things
Right.
that have happened. There were people who said they're never going to be able to move past, him, kicking, hitting, whatever you want to say he did to LeBron in the crotch in the finals, and that cost them the finals and all that stuff. They'll never be able to move on from that. Well, they did. him and Kevin Durant, going at each other, that they'll never be able to move on. Well, they did. But the difference is he yelled at Kevin Durant. LeBron James was an opponent. This is his own teammate, right? These are, this is supposed to be like your brother there. And, that's tough to, to see. And I know I apologize. I can't remember who wrote it. When somebody wrote about, Bob Myers said to Steph Curry, like, hey, are you ready to do some leading now? And those kind of things. Like, we really need you to step up and be the leader here. And one, like, boy, that's not really fair to Steph. Like, he shouldn't have to be dealing with the fallout of this. He had nothing to do with it. But on the flip side, yeah, if you're the team leader, well, then that's what you got to do. You help lead the team on the other side. Because as we talk about all the time, no one's going to pause things for the Warriors. They're playing a game 10 days from now, right? They're opening their season 10 days from now. They're, whether they like it or not, that date on the calendar is not going to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to see how they ultimately manage this situation. But let's get into some more news. We do have some kind of quick hitters here. Jalen Suggs injury. Now, I have not seen this injury yet. I was traveling, did not see exactly
it didn't look good.
What went down. Did not look good. I know the x-rays were negative, but that doesn't mean you're out of the woods when you hear x-rays are negative. Obviously, there's other things going on here. Keith, I know you're in Orlando. What's the sentiment right now?
Yeah, so it did come out a little bit more detail. Woj reported it this afternoon, or I guess this morning at some point. But Jalen Suggs has sustained a left knee capsule sprain and a bone bruise. Timeline on a return will depend on response to treatment, but there's relief it wasn't a more serious injury. So that is definitely true. It looked bad. I to be quite honest, I was, that might be it for him for the year. And then he had to be helped to the locker room and just it didn't look good. So hopefully this is something that, maybe he's out for, 4, 6, 8 weeks or something, and then he can get back. And it's important that he plays. He missed a large chunk of last year with injuries. This is year number 2. You got to get on the floor because you got to start finding out how he meshes with these other guys. What does he look like? And then for his own, time, he needs those minutes. He needs those development minutes and all those kind of things. And, it was funny. I think we even talked about it once on here. The Magic just have a million guys in their backcourt. And now all of a sudden, a bunch of those guys are hurt between Suggs and Markelle Fultz, and Cole Anthony's got a very minor thing. So he should be okay to go here fairly soon. But it's just, it's one of those things where, it just sucks. It sucks when anybody goes down, but I really hate when young guys who are trying to, find their way in the NBA are going to miss. So, at least what looks like it'll be a significant chunk of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Not something that you want to see. You never want to see it happen, period. But in preseason too, that's just rough. Bone bruise. Man, that's you think about Kendrick Nunn from last year. That's certainly, you just never know what's going to happen with things like that. So hopefully Jalen Suggs is able to come back and get 100% healthy as quickly as possible. Jaxson Hayes dealing with an elbow issue. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Again, it's something that happened, but it sounds like everything's going to be okay. A couple of weeks, he'll be back out on the floor. So if he misses regular season games, we're talking a minimal amount of time here for the Pelicans.
Yeah, Jeff Stotts on Twitter. His Twitter is at in street clothes. Invaluable follow. You gotta follow this guy. He's always tweeting about NBA injuries. He maintains a massive database of injuries and return to play time and those kind of things. And he says a torn UCL is relatively uncommon in the NBA, but the injury did sideline Paul George for 43 games, 96 days last season. The average number of missed games for confirmed UCL sprains or tears in the NBA is about 20 games. So the Pelicans are saying at least 2 weeks. Let's see. It wouldn't surprise me if this turns into like 3 or 4 weeks instead. But it doesn't sound like it's something that's going to keep Jaxson Hayes out for months or large chunks of the season. But it did with Paul George. So we'll find out.
Well, hopefully that's not what winds up happening with Jaxson Hayes, but good note and good reference there. Maybe something that we should keep a closer eye on then. Something just went down with the Lakers, or at least we just found out about it. This is maybe the weirdest part, Keith. Dave McMenamin had, the initial reporting came from Chris Haynes that Ron Pelinka has signed an extension with the Lakers, an extension as to be the team's GM through 2026. And then Dave McMenamin came out and said, yeah, this actually happened when Darvin Ham was hired.
Yeah.
We're just now
Sam
hearing
Amick
about it.
on it, the same thing too. That they agreed to it when Darvin Ham was hired, and that I think it puts them both on the exact same
Yep.
timeline contract wise through the 25-26 season. So yeah, sometimes these things happen because if you're pushing other stuff as a front office and looking to do other things, you don't really have a reason to put your own news out there, I guess, is
Right.
where this comes from. And this could have been something as simple as somebody saying, "Hey, what's going on with Rob's contract?" So it was like, "Oh man, we signed him to an extension. He's around for a few more years." And it's like, "Wait, what? That's news."
Right. Right.
Why wouldn't you tell us that?
Exactly.
What's your thought?
I think the context is a little bit strange. I think Rob gets a lot of hate from Lakers fans right now,
Mhm.
and that's given coming off of the worst season in history last season, relative to fan expectations. Relative, I know you're laughing, but I'm serious. Relative
No, yeah.
in terms of the fan experience, those games were barely watchable,
Oh
and
yeah, it was.
frankly not. I mean, it
Yeah.
was rough.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I've jokingly said it, but sincerely mean, like, I know how you made it through because
yeah,
I stopped watching them by the end of the year because it was just in that, there's only so many games in that late West Coast window at nighttime. And I was just like, there's not because when you get to a point where there's nothing left to learn with the team,
yeah,
I'm out. And there were no, major young prospects playing, or it was just a whole mess of veterans on a messy injured roster playing out the string. So
yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, I was out on them too.
Yeah, we had a few bright spots with Austin Reeves, or a few
Sure.
bright games there, but that was about it, right? There
And you
wasn't
could catch those in highlights if you're not a daily person who covers the team like you are.
exactly. So coming off of that, Frank Vogel lost his job, right? Frank Vogel loses his job, and if I'm looking at this objectively, I say, you know what? Roster construction probably had more to do with the issues from the past season.
Mhm.
Not to say Vogel's blameless or anything. I'm not saying
Sure.
Frank Vogel should have kept his job or whatever, right? But given that context, it's a little bit strange that you fire the head coach and then the guy who put the roster together, you say, "Great job. Here's 4 more years." That seems a little bit odd. Now, I'll say that he's had success in the past. He built a championship team. He's done.
Yep.
I'm not saying this is a terrible decision or anything like that. It's just a little bit odd when you consider the optics of you fire the head coach because the season was so bad, and then the GM who put the team together. We assumed that he might be on the hot seat. They went the complete other direction and said, "Here's a contract extension." That's a little strange.
Yeah, I have a handful of thoughts. I think one, two, right? Palinka was, whether you believe it or not, was credited with being part of the group that wooed LeBron to
Mhm.
sign with the Lakers. Now, I personally think you and I could have been running the Lakers, and LeBron was coming to the Lakers. I don't know how much Rob Pelinka had to convince him beyond, yes, we will sign you. Great, done, let's go. But that is what it is. But I do think, right, this is when I'm going through this and living it right now as a New England Patriots fan.
Mhm.
When you have become a top tier franchise, people no longer have patience for losing seasons. There are people who are like, fire Bill Belichick. And it's like, he made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback last year. And yeah, they're off to a 1-3 start this season, but like, people are going crazy. And it's like, they won the Super Bowl just a few years ago. It's just, and that's where I look at it with Rob Pelinka. I'm like, it was only 3 seasons ago they won the
Right.
title, but I get it. The season after that, kind of more of the wheels came off because the injuries and everything went
Yes.
wrong.
Yeah, I don't
And
blame
then,
him on that one.
yeah, but last season, totally fair criticism that he didn't build a good roster. I've said it over and over again. I thought the criticism of Frank Vogel was a little ridiculous when you hired a guy who is a defense first coach and then you proceeded to get rid of all the defenders.
Yeah.
And I know Anthony Davis was hurt. I get it. And LeBron was hurt. But to your point, Frank Vogel lost his job. Now, why I think maybe this could maybe have happened is, one thing you worry about is more than a lame duck coach, because that happens all the time. You
Yep.
worry about the lame duck GM because you don't want to make him moves that are like, I got to save my job, that are super short sighted. Like, I'm
We
going to
call
trade Russ.
we call those Mozgovs.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly. No, totally fair. I'm going to trade Russ in the first round picks for Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson,
Right.
right? Like, that would be a disaster level move. And you don't want that to happen, at Thanksgiving, when the first month of the year is,
Right.
if it's gone poorly, you make a panic trade. When you're signed through a few more years, you feel maybe a little bit more comfortable of, all right, I can make moves without having to. We talk a lot about guys coaching for their job, guys GM for their job too. And you can maybe feel a little bit more comfortable with that of like, hey, all right, we committed to you. See it through what you think you need to see through with where this roster is now and go from there. So, but I'm also going to add it's the Lakers. I mean, people make jokes about, the Lakers and stuff with things, but it's one of the richest franchise is in the entire league, and they make a ton of money every year. If things are going bad in a year or two, they can fire him and just pay out the rest of his contract and not even worry about it. Like it's not. I wouldn't, by any means think like, well, now if this year goes poorly and next year like we're stuck with them for. That's not. They'll fire him and move on if they have to. I just think this is. Hey, let's be a little bit more solid. Let's link the coach and the GM together and go from there.
Yeah, that's the exact point in terms of Rob now not having that pressure on him to make a move or otherwise he's on the hot seat, that type of thing. That is the positive side to this, even if the optics are a little bit weird. Frank Vogel loses a job based on what happened last season, but now Pelinka can go into trade negotiations or whatever, even his contract signings, and not feel that pressure that I have to do something. He can have that certainty that comes with this contract extension and not be pressured into doing something. So that's the positive side to it.
Somebody tweeted and it made me laugh. Is like, well, now that removes everybody calling him and saying, dude, you got to trade him or you're getting fired. Like you have to make this deal with me. You're going to get fired. Like, and that, I mean, at least there's that. So, hey, but the big news, I mean, the Lakers signed Shaq. Like
they did.
We can't skip that one, right?
They did. Shaq indeed. Shaq Harrison, that is.
Oh, we didn't have to say his last name. We just have to Shaq. People are like Trevor and Keith covering transactions from 20 years ago. What's happening on this show?
The Lakers landed Shaq today. I mean, pretty impressive. They also sacrificed bacon in order to get there. So
that's true. Shaq and bacon.
Ham and bacon could not coexist on the same team.
Oh man, that's tough.
Couldn't happen.
That's too much with Ron Pelinka.
That's and that's when we hit
weekend update. Rob Sausage Linka. There we go.
Yeah,
a little better. Yeah, we'll take it.
That works. Works. Dwayne Bacon, Javonte McCoy waived. LJ Figueroa, Shaq Harrison signed by the Lakers again. This is probably has more to do with the G League than.
Hey, it definitely does. Yeah, none of these. I think the only maybe you have different thoughts, and I know you just saw the team and were around them for a couple of days. The only camp guy I think that even has a reasonable shot of making that roster, and I don't even know now that they added Dennis Schroeder and filled that last 15th spot. I would have thought maybe Jay Huff. Just because he's big, he's been around the team for a little while and he can play. So I think Matt Ryan is actually pretty good, but you already have Cole Suitor on a two-way. So that's just kind of duplication. You don't really need, let Ryan go to the G League and play for South Bay and go from there. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see, but I think the roster's pretty well finished is my guess after adding Dennis Schroeder. Yeah. Now we didn't cover it, but he has now joined the team.
Right. We'll see if he plays tomorrow against the Warriors, but he is I think he's the 14th, so they still have one spot open. But
you're right.
I think they're going to leave that spot open though.
I think so too. Yeah, just flexibility, tax concerns, might as well. Let it roll. Again, if it's going to be anybody, probably Jay Huff. But I mean, they're rolling in relatively healthy-ish. I know AD's working through some back soreness and stuff, but it's maybe if like one of the other centers had gotten hurt, maybe then you say, we'll keep Jay Huff around on that non-guarantee for a little bit. But yeah, and you're right. I counted on my camp guys. So just so everybody knows too, we're not gonna run through all of these camp signings. Like, for example, Orlando did a set today. Oklahoma City's done like 5 in the last week. Again, we talked about it on a prior episode, but just as refreshers, you're seeing these names kind of come on and off the roster here with, only a week and a half or so to go in the preseason. What happens is these teams are setting up their G League rosters. These guys will come in, they'll gain their affiliate player rights in a lot of cases. Eric Pincus was the first one I saw to point out the South Bay Lakers traded for Shaq Harrison's G League rights. So that's how that's part of why the Lakers sign him. Now he'll go to South Bay, he'll get a little bonus as an affiliate player. And that's what these moves are designed for. It's just smart use of your G League team and, stocking up in the G League.
Exactly. That's what it's nothing. Probably not going to make an impact on the full roster.
Very few of these guys, are going to make NBA roster. But I mean, we might see them later down the line on a 10-day call up or something like that.
Last thing, we've got the Heat are one of the teams that's interested in trading for Jae Crowder. Crowder's on a $10-ish million expiring contract with the Suns. Story is that he wanted an extension. The Suns said, well, not only are we not going to give you an extension, but we're also probably taking your starting job away, and you might not even close games for us anymore. Yeah. And so Jae Crowder said, okay, well, I want to go somewhere else.
So
that's where we're at.
That's like walking in and demanding a raise at work and being like, well, you know what? You're fired.
Yeah.
That's a little rough. But yeah, $10.2 million contract. This is far more reasonable for the Heat than some of the other targets. Not just, it's just hard for Miami to match salary and trade. Like when they were mentioned on, KD, they were going to have a very hard time matching salary and trading for KD without trading another key rotation guy. Somebody like Jae Crowder at $10 million, you can get there. You're only going to put a couple contracts together and you can trade for a guy like Jae Crowder. And we saw he played great for Miami a couple years ago. So, and he would fit in there well. And importantly, after signing Tyler Hero and now a whole bunch of stuff, it's not a long-term salary commitment. And Jae Crowder's probably at the point in his career where you might be able to re-sign him for, $7 or $8 million next season or something down around that number and keep him moving forward there. But yeah, we'll see. It's October 8th as we record this. We're about a week out from teams having to finalize their rosters. So it's a little interesting that nothing's happened with Crowder yet, but we'll see. I mean, sometimes we see teams carry these guys into the season. Kemba Walker had a good comment. He was it was funny there was a glitch on the Pistons scoreboard the other night, and it showed him getting a rebound in the game, but he was actually sitting courtside watching the Celtics and the Hornets play in Charlotte. So that's some out of area rebounding, right? I pick on Andre Drummond for only grabbing in area rebounds all the time. Like Kemba is getting those out of area rebounds.
He can really do it.
Yeah. Hey, give him a look. But kind of to why I was bringing that up is he said the Pistons have not offered him acceptable buyout terms, which he's under no obligations to reduce his salary by anything. He can say, waive me for the full amount, or you can trade me or do whatever you want, or you're just going to have to keep me on the roster. My guess is we're going to get to probably within the next, week here as they have to cut down and everybody's going to get down to their regular season rosters. He'll just get waived for his full amount because I don't think there's a trade coming or anything like that. But sometimes we see these guys just linger on rosters for a little bit because the teams don't want to eat the money. And then we can always use it as trade, matching later down the line. So that I wouldn't be shocked if the Crowder thing drags on for a little while.
Yeah, it very well might. And we'll see ultimately where it winds up. But at some point, teams are going to be looking for kind of a 3-and-D style wing, or he's more of a 4 now than anything else. But I think he could help some teams. Just the question is when. Obviously, he's not going to be playing for the Suns.
Yeah, weirdly enough, too, I think he could help the Suns. Still.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Like they're overflowing with front court depth in Phoenix. I know they got Dario Saric back now, but it's not. They don't have a ton at the 4, but. I mean, that kind of is what it is, right? It's once you've gone this far down the road, it's not coming back. Like he's done there. Hey, I wanted to mention before we wrap up here, we did have a couple people reach out and ask, hey, you guys going to do over/under shows? Are you guys going to do a prediction show? Yes, the answer is yes. To both. We will do probably. Just because it's us and we go long, we'll probably do an East over-unders and a West over-unders. I think everyone who does an NBA podcast is like contractually obligated
We
to
have
do
to.
an over-under show now.
Yep.
Plus, they're a lot of fun, and it's a good way to kind of set things up there. And then yes, we will do a prediction show with we'll predict records and standings and MVP and all that fun stuff. We'll get all that together and do all that for you guys here
Before the season starts.
Yes, yeah, which is unbelievable. 10 days away. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, the preseason games have getting me super excited watching, these guys. And I've kind of been building out my own personal schedule for I want to make sure I see this team early and I want to see that team early. And some of the bad teams, guys, you might want to check them out a little early because after what Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson did this past week, those bad teams may all of a sudden find themselves with an awful lot of back spasms and sprained ankles that last 2 months and those kind of things going on.
They're going to be fun early. I think you're going to see some of the young talent show out, even if they're not winning a lot of games. But yeah, any little you stub your toe, what you rest for tonight. In fact, rest for a week. Let's really make sure you're 100%.
Oh, did you guys know, top young player after we surprisingly won that game on Tuesday, he kicked the chair at his locker and now he's out for a month. We're going to start seeing stuff like that.
It's going to be a hell of a tank race this
year.
And
you know what?
That's for sure.
I am 100% in. Victor Wembanyama is unbelievable.
He's amazing.
He's that baseline floating corner three where he got fully squared up. You couldn't have blocked that thing if you jumped off a chair with a broom swinging at it. He was
here's the point. We were sitting at a sports bar. The Lakers Nation staff and I were sitting at a sports bar when that happened. We're watching it and everybody was, jaws dropped. And I said, the crazy thing is he was moving to his right. If you're dribbling with your offhand in that case, what happens is you pull up and your shoulders are just kind of naturally squared to the basket. So if you're left-handed and you're dribbling towards your right, you're going to shoot with your left. Your shoulders naturally get squared. When you pull up, it's much more difficult when you're dribbling with your shooting hand to pull up and square your shoulders. It's a very difficult thing to do, and he did it seamlessly at 7'5" with that kind of momentum. I mean, the physics alone are unbelievable. And he does it. It's amazing.
One of the best I can ever remember getting himself square on those floating shots was Ray Allen. He was unbelievable how he would just always right before he released, he'd get square. But Ray Allen was a foot shorter than Victor Wembanyama. So, it's just, unbelievable. I mean, if you're watching and listening to this, you've seen it by now, but it's, I'm 100% in. I could not be more sold. So if some team decides, we are not going to win a single game, that's probably going too far because the flattened lottery odds, but I don't get yourself down to that bottom,
It's going to be some shenanigans this
give
year.
yourself a shot. Yeah. Cause it is something. And I won't be surprised too, if we start seeing teams, maybe try to, hey, maybe can we get a second lottery pick and just, juice our odds a little bit if there's any way to get in there like that. But yeah, man, it's it was so much fun. It was fun too, to experience all of it, kind of together. And that was my first time, in a year. I watched a game that Scoot Henderson played, but I'm super impressed with him too.
He was great.
He was, really, really good. So it's I know he's the consolation prize, but he's going to be really good too. So I'm super excited to, kind of monitor the two of them throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, let's wrap up the weekend update there. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Again, make sure you do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel or to the podcast feed over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.